who's here. Okay, I'm calling to order the April 17th meeting of the Law, Buildings, and Codes Committee. Being present, committee members Michael O'Brien, Jenny Farrell, myself, Joe Igo, and from the city we have Frank Zioli, Sergio, Commissioner, say that again before. Panunzio. And Dan DeLello and Rob McGee. Okay, our first piece we'd like to take.
Dorsey's on the phone.
Oh, Dorothy's on the phone. Good evening, Dorsey. Wish I could see you, but good listening to you. Good evening. Good evening. Okay, our first piece we're taking up is
Ordinance 7/21/19.
7/21/19. That's pertaining to parking during a declared snow emergency. And the sponsor, would you like to start off with that, and then we'll give comment?
Quickly, most of the amendments are really technical amendments and just updates. The Article 1 is in Section 3, which is intended to provide people a grace period within which they can move their vehicle from one side of the street to the other for the alternate side of the street parking. And essentially what this provides, prior to the commencement of the second 24 hours, there's a 1 hour grace period within which you can move from one side to the other. So in other words, if the second 24 hours starts at 8 p.m., you have from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. to move over, and you have to be over by 8 p.m. Okay. So that's all it does, is just provide that grace period. And we made the amendment, just clarifies that language. The original language was not clear, and so I think we did some clarifying, which everybody's happy with. And as I understand that UGS is not plowing at that point anyway, because that's your shift change.
Yes.
It doesn't really have any impact.
We're reviewed, on the GGS side, we review all our policies and procedure, and it has no impact on our operation. Therefore, we'll give a green light.
Okay. And this is probably what happens right now, but it does
Yeah.
give people, the
Yeah.
public, some sense that there is a period at least. Some people would like a
Right.
bigger window. But, we're trying to
Somebody
provide.
asked for 6 hours.
Yes.
6 hours, it would
6
definitely
hours.
hinder, it would definitely hinder the operation.
Are there any comments, first of all, from the committee members? No? Well, I suppose I could ask, do you have comment on this one right now, public? No? Okay, do I have?
I would love to make a motion to move this out of committee with a positive recommendation.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's passed out of committee. The next one we shall take up is
6/21/19,
21, that's fine. Yeah.
which it
Who's this?
An ordinance,
Michael O'Brien? Yours, you guys work together?
amending Article 1, removal of garbage, Article 2, recyclable, Article 4, litter, and so forth. We do have a language problem. We reviewed our policy and procedures and our operation. If I could bring you up to the last page, Section E, cost and abatements. And I'm going to read it out loud so everybody understands what the problem is. Section 1, if the owner or person upon whose notice was made fails, neglect, or otherwise refuses to timely comply with such notice, fails to attend a hearing scheduled pursuant to subsection D, or is it found to be in violation of any provision of Chapter 313 after the hearing set forth in subsection 313-51.1D.
Whereabouts are you?
Last section, D. Cost estimate. Cost of abatement. So the commissioner shall cause the premises to put in such condition, correct violation, cite and comply with the provision of the chapter, the cost of which, together with a 15% surcharge of inspection, a fine not to exceed $325 and less than $25. And other administrative costs in connection therewith shall be certified and filed with the city treasurer, who shall render the bill to the owner and or person or entity which pays the taxes in said lot or parcel and land of payment. In its content, it doesn't seem a big problem. However, to us, the way we read it, it interprets that there will be an hearing schedule for each violation. Our intent is to give the summons to the individual, and then he or she appeals, then we would have a hearing, rather than have a hearing in each single occasion. So that's where our problem lies. It was
So-
slowed down tremendously.
Yeah.
It's actually listed in multiple areas where it says by administrative hearing. Those words could be just stricken out.
By administrative hearing. The administrative hearing only
I'm gonna
happens after someone says, I'm challenging, I need proof, whatever, then we would schedule an administrative hearing. But the way it reads right now, it implies that
Everyone will-
there will be a hearing for every single violation we issue,
Before the violation
before
is
even the
issued.
violation is issued.
Okay. We have a, you want to strike that out in all places, or?
So it would be the word, so it's in section A.
If you want to go through section by section, if you go to
Michael?
section A,
Michael, this is yours?
Mike,
Michael Bryan?
yeah,
This is yours, and you're fine with this? You're sponsoring it, okay.
We are, for the record, we're recommending the removal of by administrative hearing.
Okay.
in all of
So,
these sections, in the
So it'll
following.
read just under this section, in accordance with,
Joe, why don't
Section
you
A
start at
will
the
say
beginning?
The commissioner may,
Start at the beginning, no, okay,
the bottom end
all right.
of
So A,
bottom of A,
Where
in
it's
the underscore, under this section, you're gonna strike out by administrative hearing. So it's gonna read, liability under this section in accordance with 315D, okay?
Yes.
And
the next
Section
paragraph
two.
down,
paragraph,
the same thing down by administrative
So
hearing.
just a quick question, that completely makes sense, but is there a place where we're putting in that somebody has a right to a hearing if
It's in there,
It's in there.
it's in
It's in
there?
there.
So it just,
So the section it's referring to sets out the administrative hearing
Right.
thing. It's just,
Got it.
yeah,
Oh,
making
got
it a
it,
little
yes.
less specific here.
okay, so in section 2, may adjudicate liability by, strike out by administrative hearing again, okay? The next section,
Would be the next page under penalties and offenses.
okay,
It says
by,
through administrative hearing.
through administrative hearing. Oh, no, it's good. Oh, up here, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
it's in almost every paragraph,
Okay.
it seems. And there's another paragraph underneath it.
Who's gonna read,
I'll make sure that these are changed.
okay, that's fine. He'll change them all every place he finds an
Well, as long
attorney.
as you
Yeah.
guys
And
remove
reprint
the
it,
amendment.
Yes, okay?
Section 4.
So do I have any motions on this, please? Or further comments?
Other than that, we don't have a problem. In fact, we've been requesting this type of legislation, and there's been some issues. We want to definitely, one of my project this year is to heavily enforce the move-outs or residential areas of colleges and the landlords, so this would be a good ammunition for us to kind of enforce the code. So other than that minor language issue, we certainly endorse the ordinance, and we ask everyone to support it.
Before I ask for public comment, does there be any other council member have anything to discuss on this piece?
Just had a question. Just want to clarify, this is not, is this increasing any fines or penalties?
No.
Because you're referring to the penalty section, but it seems you're adding another reference.
No,
No, it's all, the fines and everything are all
Right.
staying, remaining the same. We're not asking for any increases on anything.
Okay.
It's just the wording of how it's issued.
And then this just eases your ability
to enforce the code, yeah.
So then, so you need an amendment, a motion for amendment
Yes.
specifically, since there's already provisions for administrative hearing, it doesn't have to be repeated. In paragraph A, of section 1, paragraph, the penalties and offenses, section of section 2, and section 4, the penalties and offenses section. So we would
And Mike, if you can also add the enacting clause to read section 6.
I thought it was 5, 6?
No, 5 is right here.
Okay,
Section 6
okay.
needs to be amended.
So I hear an amendment, a motion for your amendment, Michael?
Yes.
second.
All those in favor?
Can I just ask a question about
Oh,
this?
see it
Was
come in.
this directed by the administration?
Yes.
So are they the ones that then they're the ones that put in this specifically by administrative hearing language that we're now taking out?
Yes.
Yes.
That's okay, man.
So did they feel,
I'm not sure if you heard what
Yeah,
Sergio
they-
said before you came in. It looks like the way it's written is that everyone would come up for, that you would have to have an administrative.
Before you even issue a summons, you have to have an administrative hearing.
And that isn't the case.
That is not the case. We give the opportunity to hear the upon once it's served.
Okay?
I think it was just a typo, or some sort of addition.
So before I put this up for a vote, does anybody, any of the public have comment on this piece? Nancy? No? Okay. I have a motion to amend it. You're passing with amendments.
Okay, I made a motion to amend it.
Okay?
And that was
Seconded.
seconded.
Okay. And we'll accept that. Is there any, let's take a vote on it. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Okay, so it's going to be reported out of committee with the amendments. That's good.
That's it.
Boy, you guys went fast.
Thank you. Perfect.
I know Darrell and Bill are anxious to get up.
I want to talk to you.
I like the new uniform, Darrell, looks good on you.
Sometimes if I send you a note.
Yeah, send you an email back.
Oh, okay,
Friday, you'd be good, or whenever.
okay.
I have no life.
We're not talking about potholes.
I know
My
that
job
we
is
are-
my life.
Sergio? Yes. We're not talking about potholes, sorry.
Oh, I dream, I have nightmares about potholes. Yeah.
so do I, because I get a lot of answers, yes.
Yeah. The street you've been inquiring about? I don't want to say, but it's going to be taken care of.
Not South Main.
After tomorrow.
That's not, you understand, that's not the only one, you know, so I
Yeah.
have the other ones.
But the one is really bad.
So here's all I want to say about.
All right, let's stay
Tomorrow
on
we
our
open
focus
the
here.
bids, so we should have the numbers.
We get going on this, we'll never go. Thank you.
He's rescuing you. You now own him.
Hey! Oh,
I owe him, I owe him.
oh, yeah.
I thought you enjoyed the Bahamas already, man.
What?
I said, I thought you enjoyed the Bahamas already. You want to enjoy the sun, the Albany weather?
He's saying it's like spring now, but it said you've already been through summer, so you were.
Yeah. Okay, let's take up the last one and,
I don't know if they had any comments.
okay, the next one I want to take up is,
Some direction.
Did you have any issues on the snow emergency ordinance? Okay, because we already did that.
No, we're,
Because if you did it,
I was
it's too
going to say
late.
you missed your chance.
Sorry.
You didn't come to next
Sorry.
meeting in public comments, sit in line behind.
gotta sit in the back, yeah.
behind-
No, we're,
Okay, the next one we're going to take up is ordinance 21218, an ordinance amending an article, traffic violations in relation to markings for fire hydrants. Mr. Conti and Mr. Wusu are the sponsors. I don't know which one wants to take the lead on why you'd like to do this.
Wusu probably has a 5-page speech written on it.
No, not today. I was gonna.
Oh, you must have been busy last night.
Anyway, I mean, this is not a new issue, obviously, and it relates to the uncertainty that, you know, drivers have in their parking about what the appropriate distance is, and sometimes being ticketed.
Do you have one?
Where they think they're within, and they think the curbs are painted yellow, but they're not, they're actually closer than they should be, and they get ticketed, you know. I don't know, I don't think the PSOs are using, I remember there was a point where they would take out tape measures, and they would measure from the hydrant to the vehicle, and if it was 14.9, they'd get fined. I don't think that, I talked to the executive director of the parking authority, I don't think that's happening, that there's some more judgment in
It's
it.
tough on a ruler in the snow. You know?
Yeah, that too. But it was just sort of like the whole issue of mark, 'cause, you know, people think that they are marked, that there is sometimes, but they're not. And most people don't know that the requirement is 30 feet, 15 feet. So, and I know that there have been problems in the past with the idea of doing markings, but I don't know. So what do you?
And that's, I just want to touch on, piggyback what Richard just said, just more so the lack of visual markers sometimes can create confusion, not just for individuals who are parking, but sometimes residents believe that a car is parked too close to a hydrant. Sometimes calling council members, and sometimes we have parking enforcement that will go there, and the parking space is adequate, you know, where cars are not too close to the hydrant, or sometimes it is a little bit too far back from the hydrant. So I believe that just kind of give a clarity for not just the drivers, but also for parking enforcement, especially if they're not going out there with measuring tapes. So just kind of help everyone. I believe that is good public policy. So, yeah, that's it.
That's the intent.
That's it.
Can I ask a question? When you're too close, but you have a problem with them being too far back, I don't understand that.
Because of parking, especially looking at neighborhoods like Center Square, which, you know, parking could be an issue. If someone is parked
Yeah,
30 feet,
taking up.
they taking up a few parking spots that it could be used
Are
for
you looking
someone.
to sign that too and say move up?
Say it again?
Are you looking for something to say move up closer to the 15-point line?
I might think about it.
You know. No, you see, I mean, you know, Howie could fit his little one in that spot, whatever, and you'd have extra space.
Is he the one with the smart car?
Yeah, the rubber one.
It's
Zoom,
funny,
I
he's
never
got
saw-
one of those things.
Huh?
It's like a matchbox.
I never saw anything take off so fast. Boom, just like the rubber band goes. Oh, so that isn't, you aren't looking for anything like that?
No, I'm not, no, not yet.
We just said, we have concerns on how much, like, to put up parking signs, you know, has a cost.
Which is the
Which
enforceable
is my
item.
next question, okay? For the way it's written, chief shall clearly mark and identify all hydrants? All hydrants? And would it take two signs, what you guys are looking for? One here and one there on both ends?
Well, I think the
It would have to
probably
be
the
two
thought
signs.
was
It'd have to be
that
two
you
signs.
would do a marking on it, and I know not everybody has curbs, but you indicate by painting the curb 15 feet on each side. There are some cases where you can park closer than 15 feet, aren't there?
The vehicle traffic law says unless directed by official sign or,
Yeah.
or directive.
So I've seen sometimes in terms of parking meter spaces that are marked, that sometimes they look like they are closer to a meter than 15 feet, but they are marked spaces. So that's one thing. But,
Oh, yeah.
so that was one way, and then, you know, I don't know if another way is if on each meter, on each hydrant, there was some kind of, if there could be signage, but you don't want to interfere with.
With the
Yeah,
turn
for
in your
sure.
top, yeah.
Maybe a sticker.
You know how they have
The mo-
where they
the
put up the
marker.
red flags?
Some of them, I don't have one of them.
Well, I don't think you want.
Some are
signs
still
like that.
green as compared to red.
So that's the issue. It's,
Paint on the ground, we get snow for
Yeah.
however many months of the year, and then you have to go out and clean
correct.
that. So for those months, I think the paint is not, it's not gonna work for anybody,
What
enforcement
do
or
you
the
do when,
residents.
like, for areas that don't have sidewalks?
Right.
Or curbs?
Curbs, so you're painting
You gotta
whatever,
put them in.
put them in, there you go.
Right,
And it's my understanding that paint is not an enforceable item to write a ticket for, unless we,
The ticket is based on judgment, and then they can plead not guilty, and then you can go argue your fact out in front of whoever the traffic court judge is now.
we put some figures together if we were to do signs.
What kind
Following,
of signs are you thinking about?
no
Signage?
parking anytime. Two, it would be two of them at each hydrant, 30
On the
feet,
hydrant or?
30 feet apart.
30?
So the designated 30 feet, because it's
Okay.
15 feet each direction.
Yep.
So to do that, and this is just some anecdotal numbers that we threw together quickly. Because I did it before we had the computer disaster. Thank you. And then had to redo it.
Thank you, Bill.
$442,000?
Just the materials. I figured you'd get a chuckle out of that one. And that's not including
I said
labor.
the same thing, I was like, are these numbers
How
for
about,
real?
how about the next line down where we have four people to do it, 2 trucks. It's gonna take us, if we did 10 of these a day, and it'd take us about a year and a half to finish the project at 3,400 hydrants.
But it's a one-time cost, right?
I'm sorry?
It's a one-time cost.
And then maintenance. But I mean, you're not maintaining them all the time. You're gonna replace the signs in 10 or 12 years.
Isn't this something that you can use the high school students in our,
In the summertime, summer youth
Not for
program to
signs.
paint This is more so for like.
This is
actual
sign.
pole. This is sign.
And we needed to look at it from both directions, so we went with the signs.
Two signs per hydrant.
So, and I think that because I will say that the paint does come up pretty,
Yeah.
you know, I think that might be, is that what you guys are driving at?
And that's
have
what we're
it
trying to
be
figure out. We're going at.
Painted,
People think-
or are you guys going for signs? Like, what is the intent of your
The intent
legislation?
is to have some visible markings so people know the appropriate distance.
Because when I heard Awusu talking about it, you were talking about paint, which it does make sense to me to have something in there saying that,
Paint their curbs.
like
I know in
refreshing
Boston, I've
the,
seen, they use red. I come back here and I happened to see a couple the other day on Washington Avenue, the one washing right before,
Hudson.
before the Twin Towers there, or the, you know, whatever they call it now. There's a bus stop, it says no parking bus stop, and there's a hydrant right there. I'm wondering if this guy got a ticket for parking, both for in the bus stop or at the hydrant right there. So,
Well, the only thing that should
You
have
can
been in
actually
there.
park at the bus stop.
but there was, I was surprised, there was still yellow, because they haven't been painted in a long while, and there's still yellow
I don't know
right
who
there.
painted it.
It's old, it's been
No, I
on
know,
there
I
for
don't know
whatever.
who painted it though. We did some, Bob Coleman was here.
Yeah.
So that's how many years ago it was. And we did as an experiment, because it has come up many, many times, there's no question. We did it as an experiment in a few areas and painted the curb. And, you know, within a year or two, you're back there painting the curb again. So whatever it is we're gonna do has an initial cost, a labor cost, the materials, labor, and then maintenance. So whatever it is, it's still gonna take.
Sure, there's still gonna
It's still something to do, and then who's gonna do it and
I will
what
say
labor.
that a person who parks.
3,454 hydrants around the city.
Oh, I got a question. If the underlying issue is
Oh,
people,
hold on, one at a time, go ahead, Mike.
okay, if the underlying issue is people don't know what the prohibited distance is, then just simply put a little decal on every fire hydrant. A lot less
You're
work.
supposed to know when to get your permit.
What?
You're supposed to learn that when you get your permit to drive.
I agree, but
I think people know, I
If
think
it's-
it's just hard to gauge
Gotcha,
the distance, you know, that's the big
Well,
issue.
But that's a judgment call, as the officer said, which can be
And even if you
raised when you're.
Even if you
appealing
paint it and they
your
park there,
ticket.
they're still gonna be like, well, I wasn't, I was on the other side. You'd be arguing that down in court.
So what happens in court on those? I haven't,
To whoever wrote the ticket has to testify as to what they saw, and then we wait for the judge to,
Make a decision.
are there many of them adjudicated? Does anybody know?
I don't know.
I don't think I've ever been in parking ticket court.
You know, I don't know, I know I have asked also in the past, how many, if we get, how many tickets for parking your hydrant have been issued in general location. I'm not asking for that tonight, or, yeah, but if I have asked for that information in the past, it makes sense. I don't know if that's easily compilable.
I don't know.
Compilable.
I'm sorry, what were you looking to count?
I guess I would have to ask, is it possible to generate a report indicating the number of tickets issued for parking
We can find that
in
out.
here and the location? Not necessarily which one, but just look at general location so I can say in, you know.
Right, what
in this
area?
zone, if it's by zone, however you do it, so I can get a sense, is it issued just really downtown, you know, Center Square?
Matt Peters can
area,
provide that.
Or is it uptown?
You don't have access to that computer, do you?
No, Jim can do it too.
No.
Parking violations.
Well,
If that's an easy thing to pull together.
I don't know, we'll find out. We can
Okay.
ask tomorrow or Friday, which one of the 2 days.
I have some concerns. First, okay, I think the best way, to enforce would be with the signs. Can we afford it? I say, no, we can't. We have signs up there that when we did a survey on them or whatever, okay, there were how many that should be replaced? Anything facing south, you can't even read those, so.
And we did
you
replace
can
a whole bunch from them.
Yeah, but you could have to adjudicate them on the same reason, and then if you're putting down the paint, okay, you say it's not enforceable paint, and then, I don't know what the answer is.
I would, just as a policeman, I would think that even if we did do paint, we'd have to do paint where there's curves and then signposts where there's not, just so that we have like a uniformity to this.
And there are some areas, like on my block of Manning, there's fire hydrants where there's no curb, but you can't park there. So I don't know, that would be kind of a gray area too, I guess.
I'd
I
like
mean,
to
I
s-
guess if you can't park there, then you can't, then you don't need to put a sign up, but.
That would be true. If it's a restricted area, that would come out. We didn't even think about that at all.
Well,
yet.
just at first blush, you would, I
That-
mean, I'm
that's exactly where
sure,
that came from.
like, let's say 1,000 fire hydrants come off this list, it's still gonna be really expensive, you know?
Doing it that way, yeah.
So it sounds like in terms of the language of the legislation, maybe there needs to be some flexibility built into it.
I mean,
And we still got to
Could-
figure
could
out
you s-
how we're gonna do it and what's the time frame for completing.
We're not budgeted for any of this.
I mean, I have three laborers and a foreman to do
You know-
all the tasks that we have.
you know what I would like, okay? If we had to spend this much money, I'd like to put that towards hiring more police officers, since we're down 40-some, okay, before we go this way. And,
I'll take them if you happen to have some laying around, but
no, I'm saying, you know, before I put,
We're down 40 police officers, but that's in the budget. It's just, we're not filling.
This would
it.
also be a
Well, I'd rather
one-time
fill them
cost
than-
versus a yearly cost.
that
but
money,
it's
that money I
still-
wouldn't want to be used for, you know, saying, well, it's left over this year and used for signs. I'd rather see raises go and negotiations and whatever.
Just
And-
out of
But also
curiosity.
too, just to kind of look at this from a public safety standpoint, right? For the firefighters who are actually, sometimes when individuals park too close to a hydrant, the delay it's gonna take to kind of put the hose through somebody's car, break somebody's window. I mean, just kind of put that into consideration when it comes to the markings, how this might better help our first responders. I believe that is going to decrease the amount of individuals who are actually going to be parking too close to a fire hydrant.
So I don't know, and correct me, I don't know that they wind up having to break the window of a vehicle, of a car, and get it towed before they can pull up. Essentially, what happens is the vehicle, the fire truck, then winds up taking up the entire street.
If they're
They'll move-
if they're laying a hose out, they're gonna take the whole
they'll
street
move,
anyway.
they'll move your car with the truck.
They will. They'll push it out of
There's
the
a
way.
fire on Aspen Road near my house, okay, across way from my son's, and the fireman come up, George Young was on the tiller of the thing, whatever, and Rick Scanlon says, take out that mailbox. And you know what?
Ran over.
Because the hydrant was right there, okay, and they had to get it up to reach the roof, whatever, and
I'd be more interested to ask the fire chief, how many times he's had issues.
I was gonna have that question. I've seen
Yeah.
So
one
I wrote that
picture.
down, I'm just thinking, how many times have they actually had issues? Just, if we're gonna ask the other questions. And
I've seen a
it could be
picture,
a
I
lot
don't
for
know who
all I
sent
know,
me,
I don't know.
right through a brand-new car window, one window or the other, and they pumped the water right through it, and you know, they won't do it again, you know.
So, my gut reaction to this is maybe, I don't know if you need to do it in legislation, if there's a way to do it in legislation, but maybe to identify, like you say, when we compile the data for where there's been a lot of parking tickets, and a big incentive, I think a big motivating factor for this was people are getting parking tickets and claiming that they don't necessarily know. So where are those locations, and can we then, is it then, is it then 100?
It might be 100, and it might be something that
And that might be
administratively
easier to work out.
Yeah, or even if it's something that you're hearing within your ward. So you guys might be hearing in your wards that your constituents are getting tickets in specific areas, that it might not necessarily, maybe it's 2 people and it's not gonna pop up, but it's 2 people that you guys are hearing from. That might be a helpful thing to then put the paint up, or then prioritize putting,
I would sign
potentially
it.
putting
I think
signs
the
up,
data,
yeah.
you get that would be helpful.
Yeah.
And then you might just want to target, if you can, those areas without being something.
I would think you'd have a lot in business areas.
I don't know, I don't even wanna speculate, I don't wanna speculate until we figure out.
Parking,
True.
meeting space, so.
My guess is like the student, I mean, all the places where people are talking about wanting parking parking permit kind of things is where there's like a level of density.
I've seen people, I gotta get in the Capitol, take this spot right here, and you know what? They don't care, they're writing, lobbyists will have, write it off, whatever, and you know what I mean?
So I think
people
a
that-
lot will be
For
getting
those
down,
people,
but I also
I feel like they
think,
deserve a
the
ticket.
student
If that-
ghetto, there's a lot of cars. A lot of people crammed into, 3 adults in one apartment, all of whom have a car kind of thing. And,
That's true, you know what? It can't be justified to, get too close to a hydrant. I'd do anything to whatever, and from what firemen I've talked to, and it hasn't been the chief, hasn't really been an issue. If it is, they'll do just what the picture I had here.
So just a quick question. I just want to make sure I heard you clear. You will be in support of, let's say we get the findings of the data of communities that have been impacted by cars that are too close to the hydrant. Would you support just having those neighborhoods just have those visual markers of the paint?
I mean, I would, as long as it wasn't something, I was shocked by the numbers he showed us. I thought it was fake.
I did them.
But if it's something we can,
So it's just,
if it's
No, they
something we
have
can
been
afford
verified.
and something
There's
that,
3,454 hydrants.
I think that what Daryl's saying is a.
I had no idea what that
It's
was.
a little bit early.
If it's not
You know what, I would
outrageously.
Hold on, one at a time here.
Just wish we got this a little bit early.
Okay, Wusso, you still have the floor. Anybody, you finished?
I'm all set.
Okay, anybody else? Michael Bryan?
I think I would agree with, maybe we would want to contact the Bureau of Parking Administration, see if there are certain repeating areas which constantly generate tickets, and maybe if there's 25, 50 of them, we address it. That's a suggestion.
That's what I'm going to stress. So if we have the data shows that there are particular areas, then we can focus on maybe something for those areas and not worry about citywide.
Let's see what it is and come up with some numbers
You
and
agree
figure
with
out what it
that?
is.
Seems like that's a
Absolutely,
consent,
yeah.
that seems like
I-
that's a consensus here.
And yeah, there's something that we can actually do
I also
and
don't necessarily
afford.
like keeping on, having all these signposts is not attractive.
No.
Let's see what the problem is. And then
You know what?
Let's
and-
identify the areas and figure out.
A lot of it is, I've known people that call in to center station, and I know there aren't a whole lot police up our way. I was shocked to see 2 in a car today, and they were going something on 85.
We're field training
They're
the,
doing field training. I said,
field training the new
I said,
guys.
this can't be. I want to take a picture of it, but
we never give you 2 guys up there.
no, I know. We're lucky we get 1, just Brooksy. But no, it's just. But if you call up and they say, hey, look, this car is parked in front of the hydrant again, they'd like someone to respond to it. That's what I'm getting from it, you know what I mean?
But is that them or is that parking authorities?
It could be either one, since parking authority has night guys out at night, or guys and girls out at night, and we both share the same radio, so,
They'd have to put 2 signs up.
they can dispatch it to one of the policemen or to one of the parking authority. I prefer that they give it to parking authority. To leave the cops in
It's like,
service.
11 o'clock at night, and here's a person that said, I can't get in my driveway, the hydrant's here, and whatever. And it's just no response. That's what ticks them off. And if that could be worked out a better way, they call, down here, the TSOs or whatever. I don't know, you know what I mean?
I mean, they work 24/7 now, so there shouldn't, even if you call, because we all respond to the same radio,
Yeah.
unless you call a station. So the dispatcher at times, they'll dispatch the PSO instead of a policeman, sometimes.
That's just one of the complaints I have. Now, I don't know if people back here have heard what we're discussing. Okay, we're trying to get infractions, compilation of them, see if there's certain areas before we try to.
Yeah, but I think Nancy had a different issue.
I know. Well, I just wanted to hear that before they come up and start it. So, one of these want to come up and comment on this piece of legislation? On this piece of legislation?
Joe?
Yes.
Joe, I just want to add that
sorry,
I concur
guys.
with that suggestion.
Okay. Thank you. Come right up where we can hear you. Or you can hear us, actually. And that's according to this hydrant. That's what we're on tonight. We aren't talking about bus stops or anything else at
Yeah,
this
well,
point.
that's what I wanted to talk about, but I will say I am in favor of marking hydrants, so people know where they can park, but I think you should be doing the same thing with bus stops. That's what I think.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And there are some posts, as I said, I saw one last night, but it's right on Washington Avenue, there's a hydrant right next to it. And again, I know not every bus stop is marked, and those that do have signs, they aren't always used, so, okay? Keith, anything on hydrant marking?
I think what you've been talking about for changing the issues, and it sounds like one thing that it looked the way I saw it, that was kind of vague as to how you would mark and where.
Right.
So it sounds like maybe some parts of the city might be signage, some places might be painting of some kind. I remember back, show my age, 40 years ago, where they would draw a square out in the street that was like a closed-in parking spot. So it was like a three-sided box, and the parking spots maybe
I've seen them with the caution lines going this way too.
some places do that, you know, but I mean, there was maybe, they would either paint the curb for sure, or you came out one whole parking spot and squared it in, so it was like, you ain't parking here, because this is a spot you're not supposed to park in. I think there was even some places, they even put the fire department crest right on the ground in that spot. I remember something like that. That was, I didn't see too many of them, but I do remember seeing some of those, but they definitely marked. Richard.
I haven't seen, but I like the idea of the fire department crest or whatever, right?
Yeah, they put the crest right in that square, which was usually they just say fire lane or something like that, but I do remember seeing some where they put the crest in.
Okay.
So it probably would affect what part of the city as to whether they were, at least some kind of striping or signage for that particular issue.
Yeah, I just saw them down south, but you know what, they don't have to worry about them all winter.
Well, yeah, that's the problem with painting curbs.
Exactly.
It's going to wear out. I mean, we know that.
Curbs,
Bill
leaves,
knows that
whatever,
just
so
as well.
enforce.
But just with the paint too.
Hold on. I'll go back to you, whatever. Keith, do you have any more to say, or?
The only thing I wanted to really add, really, is what Nancy was kind of alluding to, is that if you're going to have this as an ordinance, we would just like it to have a second part of that addresses bus stops at the same time. There's a lot of bus stops marked now, but there isn't. And according to the police officers we've talked to, they said if it's signed, no parking here at the corner, no parking bus stop, whatever the case may be, they can write tickets. But if there's no signs, they can't.
Could they write tickets to the bus drivers that never pull in and use them also?
It drives me nuts.
Well, they can't because the buses can't pull in.
That's a waste of time, most of them signs, but if they were enforced.
But there's a lot of places where they exist now, but a lot of other places they should be.
Okay,
So we just feel it should be part of the same,
I understand.
ordinance type of thing.
And it's not at this time, if somebody wants to introduce that, well, we entertain it just like this, look at cost and feasibility of it.
Well, we know CDTA is behind it because we've talked to them.
Why would there, we place the signs for bus stops, correct? Why would they?
We do not place the signs that show, the ones that say CDTA on them, we do not. They
Well,
do.
those are the ones that show the different routes?
Just the routes,
But
yeah.
we do place signs.
We do the
that says
regulatory
bus stop,
signs.
No standing,
Yeah.
stopping, or whatever.
Yeah.
Are there, and that you can enforce against if a vehicle is parked there or stopped, whatever, if someone's enforced.
But
Similar
that's
with
a
the
very
Madison.
small
But
percentage.
yes, my next question is, why are not all bus stops marked in that way?
It's just been, I don't have an answer for you.
Okay.
Most of the time CDTA has been stopping in the travel lane, over my career anyway. And in some cases, we have marked the curbs, or restricted the bus stops.
Right.
And other, I don't have a good answer as to why or why not.
Okay, so any council members have anything further to say? Owusu?
Yeah, just want to express my constituent sentiment as it relates to the city of Albany. Many of my constituents, and even people that I speak to sometimes, even on lower Center Square neighborhoods, they feel like this city has been nickel and diming them as it relates to sometimes even enforcing distance between fire hydrants, the way certain emergency no parking sometimes are placed at the time that is placed up. And this is just another example to ease the residents' mind.
But that's on your next piece of legislation, which we hope to.
I'm bringing it back to this, just to ease residents' mind when it comes to if they receive some type of infraction from the city, they could actually take a picture and say, look, I have this information that I could, just because individuals won't show up to court to fight some of these cases doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. And I believe that very too often, residents of the city just feel defeated when it comes to infractions that they receive from the parking authority or even some type of ticket that they receive in general. So again, this is where my motivation for wanting to introduce something like this came from. So many people that I speak to feel like they're being targeted here in the city of Albany, particularly in the Pine Hills neighborhood, Midtown neighborhood, Center Square neighborhood. And I believe that this will ease their mind when they're able to see a visual that's going to help not just the drivers, but also help parking enforcement when they're giving out their tickets.
Thank you. Michael?
Well, I would repeat the suggestion I made earlier. I think if we went to the Parking Violations Bureau and got a better handle of are there certain hydrants that are really recurring situations, get that piece of information and then maybe target those with...
And I believe this is also supported by the executive, right? Matt Peter? Richard?
I wouldn't exactly say he's the executive. But
Oh, jeez. What's the...
Okay, Jenny Farrell.
I don't know. I haven't.
We're coming right down the way.
Yes, I've had discussions with him in his prior life about some options, but that was a long time ago.
I agree, we need more research on this.
I agree. Richard, you're okay with this?
If we get the additional information,
Okay.
I think that would be helpful.
So if you get that, and we'll maybe the next
But I do think we
meeting.
need to have some mechanism out there which gives parkers some sense as to where they can and can't park.
Okay,
Joe, may I add one point, if I may?
go ahead.
There was not personal experience, there's a fire hydrant across from my house. And until Bill finally put a sign up for me that I was asking for 5 years for, there was people parking there. And with the new parking enforcement officers and the new equipment that they have, they've always been taking photographs. So they have the proof that you were parking legal, taking and getting and being towed or getting the tickets.
As a citizen, do you think it's practical to spend $442,000 on signs to mark even half of that instead of 2 signs, 1? You think, as a taxpayer in the city of Albany, you think that's practical?
I don't think they're all would have 2 signs. Just
Well,
as a-
no, I'm saying cut it in
Some
half and
neighborhoods
go
don't have
1.
fire hydrants also, right?
There's a lot of them on the corners.
We aren't out to make money on tickets, we're just trying to keep a safe city, but, okay, we're done with public comment, okay? What?
Oh,
Okay. Judy, sorry. You're in the glare
I
now.
just suggested the alternative that you're now going for.
Okay,
So, great.
all right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
You're gonna talk to one of the 2 of them to get
Okay.
the answers.
Okay. We're adjourned. Good night, Darcy.